give it up and show your love for the one and only Attorney Glennon Threatt, y'all. Glennon, good morning.
Good morning, Ricky.
Yes, sir.
And good morning to your radio audience.
There you go, Roxy. Good morning to your radio audience. Glennon. All right.
Ricky, good morning.
Let's talk politics for a minute. Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race yesterday, so Joe Biden would become the Democratic nominee. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I think it's an incredible thing by Sanders, Ricky, and because the campaign has been on a stay-at-home order. And what happens when you stay at home is that you're forced to spend time around people and you really get to understand who they are and who you are relative to them. And that stay-at-home order has forced people to put their politics in perspective. You know, we had 10 million people to file for unemployment in the last 2 weeks. There's going to be another 6 million filed for unemployment this week. So people are worried now about paying their rent, putting food on the table. Folks are losing their jobs. People are losing loved ones. And so the campaign had taken a back seat under this political stay-at-home order. Well, by Sanders deciding to resign, what I think will happen as we look in retrospect at this campaign, that resignation by Sanders will be the second of three significant events that I hope will lead to Joe Biden's victory. The first was the Super Tuesday endorsement of Jim Clyburn, the congressman from South Carolina. The second will be the Sanders resignation. And then the third will be the endorsement by Barack and Michelle Obama and their involvement in the Biden campaign.
Wow. Yeah, this is going to be pretty huge. What do you think about Donald Trump and his approval numbers and how he's handling the coronavirus situation?
Well, what is happening, Ricky, is that he is, like he always does, he is the distractor in chief. And so he is using the coronavirus situation, and by turning those daily press briefings into campaign rallies virtually at the same time that the Democrats are restricted from being able to do the same thing. And so he is doing what he always has done. He's taking advantage of any situation to benefit himself and his political cronies. That's what I think he's done. But his approval ratings are going up in the same way that any president's approval ratings go up during the disaster, because he's appearing to be presidential by coming on TV every day. But ultimately, people, I think, will judge him by the way this all ends, not by what's happening day to day. And hopefully this will all be over to some degree by the time we vote in November.
So what do you think about the ability to vote by the time November comes? Will people be able to go out and vote? They had a whole situation in Wisconsin where people actually put their lives on the line just to make an attempt to vote when the Republicans kind of overrode the Democrats on because they tried to cancel the primary. What do you think about all of that, and will the COVID-19 have an effect on the election?
It absolutely will, Ricky, but, you know, voting is done very differently across the country already. You have some states that have extended polling, some have extensive use of write-in ballots, and others do not. Sometimes, in some places, the polls are open for different periods of time than in others. I think ultimately the Republicans are trying to use this as an opportunity to continue with their voter suppression efforts. But ultimately, people have got to realize that we've got to get out to the polls. This, as you and I have said in the past, is probably going to be the most important election of our lifetime. It'll redefine the way our children and grandchildren live. And so it is critically important that whatever we have to do to get to the polls in November, we've got to get out and vote.
There it is. Hey, Glennon, thank you so much for that information. And if I just want to ask you just off the cuff, do you think Joe Biden can beat him in November?
I do, Ricky. I think with the endorsement of Barack and Michelle Obama, and I think the consolidation of Democrats, that by the time the coronavirus plays out and people look back and see what has happened to our country and how it could have been prevented to some degree. We couldn't have prevented the virus, but they had the first confirmed case in South Korea the same day we had our first confirmed case. Next week, kids in South Korea will be back in school. We still haven't reached the peak of our exposure to the virus.
Right. And Glennon, who do you see on the VP ticket? Do you see Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, or who do you see?
I hope it's Stacey Abrams, Ricky, for a lot of reasons. Not that I have anything against Kamala Harris, but I think that one of Biden's greatest weaknesses is his record on criminal justice and the crime bill. And I think that having a former prosecutor as his running mate can't help him in that issue. I think that Stacey Abrams is an incredible campaigner. I think she's one of the brightest political minds in the Democratic Party, and I think she helps to consolidate some votes that Biden needs to win the election.
Right. All right, man, Glennon, that is some of the best political commentary I've heard in a long time. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Let everybody know how you can be reached.
You can reach me on Twitter at @GThreat. And if you follow me, I'll follow you back, and let's join the discussion. And remember that the campaign still goes on, even though we're still at home.
That is, big bro, man. Love you, man. Tell Carla I said what's up.
I will, Ricky. Love you, too. Rock TV.
What's up, my brother?
All right, coming up next, man, Pastor Fred got church in 60 seconds. Up next, Rick's Smiley Morning Show.
This is the Rickey Smiley